I was taking one, I'd have that.
And Gugu gets behind the wheel of the sizzling Audi RS3.
Hold it together, loving the sound in it.
Chad's always the worst for me when I see him.
Mission GT, hello and welcome back to this week's show. A number of aspects of the all-new Ford Mustang represents a really big departure from its predecessors. But does that mean the Americans are finally ready to tackle the Germans of the high-performance coupe battle? Here to give us their thoughts, welcome to our panel of guests. Nice to have you guys here. Nice to talk about an exciting car. So much hype. Too much hype. Lorato? Chris, no?
Yes, too much hype.
Justice, yes? Okay, this is going to be a good debate. Too much hype.
Well, look, it's cool. I mean, we've been waiting for a right-hand Mustang, I think, for a couple of years now.
The world has.
Since the launch. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The world has.
64, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's here, and yeah. I mean, I think at least there's something now for people who always wanted to own a Mustang. So yeah.
I think we're going to all agree, from a looks perspective, if you want to turn heads, there's nothing better than a Mustang at the moment. Just driving this car, Justice, I mean, everyone, whether it's a granny pushing a trolley, like, what's that? Incredible. They've done a fantastic job from a styling point of view.
Yeah, it's almost like people can't believe it's finally here. But for something that was so hyped, I expected to be blown away, and that didn't quite happen.
Before we get to engines, so I know, Chris, I know you love this car. I really like it too, but I think Justice hit on a really good point there. 700,000 Rand, you have an expectation. 900 for obviously the V8. The bit that let me down the most was the interior. I don't know what your feeling was. It seems like they've made all these improvements from a drivability perspective, the greatest Mustang to drive, yet they just left the interior in the 80s.
I think the car doesn't pretend to be what it's not there, because people see that it's a Mustang and it's got so much like heritage behind it. I think a lot of people think that it's going to be on par with like the German cars or supercars, but it's not a supercar, it's a sports car. So as soon as you wrap your head around that it's a sports car, then I think the interior could be better, but I think it's adequate for what the car is.
I don't mind the layout. I've got no problem with that, because you need to keep that. I love that American feel and the way it's laid out, but it's a use of materials, Lorato.
Yeah.
I mean, those switches, if you want to switch driver modes, I mean, grab one out of a Mini for Pete's sake. It's a proper switch. It's a cheap plastic. The gear knobs, cheap plastic, hard plastic. The soft stuff is where you never touch. Top of the dash and on the side of the doors.
Yeah. Look, I mean, like I said, it was a little bit tacky in other areas. I mean, some of the materials, there's no sort of flow or congruency with the materials. I mean, some of it is good, but some of it has been lifted off wholesale from a Ford Focus, which for me, for a car starting at a price of $699, is expecting a little bit more of detail, you know, good tactile quality.
Let's talk engines, because I know everyone's like, if I don't tell you that I'm driving that 2.3 EcoBoost, you'll never know. That's a good thing, because I mean, we actually said in the insert, people buy an entry-level Merc and put an AMG line on it because it's the same thing, but you don't have to go and do that. It looks fantastic. That 2.3 EcoBoost, you don't need more.
No, you don't. It's a brilliant motor. The way the power comes in, it revs nicely. It's really good. It's a well-balanced motor. Obviously, the die-hard Mustang purists will say you have to have a V8. But then the tuner side, the drifting guys, those kind of guys, those are the guys going to be buying a 4-cylinder and tuning those. Obviously, there's a lot more tuning options for the V8 because it has been around for 30 odd years. But yeah, my money would be on the 2.3 EcoBoost. If I was taking one, I'd have that.
Now, Lorato, it's interesting. People forget that that's where Mustang actually started, with small 6 cylinders. Everyone thinks of the V8, but we've got to consider a new market. It's now a world class, so new people are going to be buying into Mustangs. That's where they've done a great job with that, using that 2.3 EcoBoost, because it's efficient and it's fast enough.
It is. I mean, like you say, this is a global car. So I mean, there's markets like China, where obviously the bigger the capacity, obviously taxes are high as well. So look, like you say, it's a good car. It's a good engine, nice entry level. But I'm one of those guys who's going to sit on the other side of the fence. I want a V8. And I mean, driving this car at the launch, will come up to people at the traffic light and like, hey man, give it the beans, you know? They want to hear that V8, and you're like, well, actually,
I've got lentils that I
yes, exactly. You know? I don't have the beef, you know? So I'd definitely go for the V8, but I just felt like they just could do it with a little bit more power. I don't know. It felt like a nice sort of vortex supercharger there will definitely make this thing proper.
Because there's not a big difference actually between the 2.3 and the 5-litre V8. I mean, it's 303 versus 233. It's not a big jump in torque either. I think they could have done a better job on the sound, because we've driven a lot of, even the Focus ST sounds better than this. That was disappointing.
Yeah, I like the V8. That's the sound to beat. And as far as the 2.3 goes, okay, it doesn't have that brilliant sound, but I think people are getting used to smaller turbocharged engines, and I also think that people want that boost now.
Yeah.
A normally aspirated engine just can't deliver that boost from 1,800 or 2,000 RPM.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to win some fans, regardless of the sound. And the sound, I don't know, maybe that's not too hard to fix aftermarket.
I see videos from overseas where guys have modified the cars already, and they're a lot stricter than we are in SA. Yeah, we can have open pipes, nobody cares. I mean, they're meant to, but they don't. Overseas, you can only get cat-back exhaust, so all the cats are in place, everything's still fine, and those cars sound a hell of a lot better than the ones that we've got here, and it's basic. And if a tuning company can offer you that for a few $100, it's why?
You're going to do it.
Yeah.
Gearbox quickly. None of you drove manual. I'd love to have, because I thought that 6-speed auto is a little bit dated. It wasn't bad, smooth on the change, but it does get confused a little bit when it's pushed on. And placement of the cup holders.
It doesn't really. I thought that auto wasn't too smooth. I would have liked a smoother box.
Yeah.
It felt a bit old-fashioned, but maybe that's part of retaining the heritage. I don't know.
Yeah. We did have one problem. I mean, we weren't allowed to take us to track, which was a real pity, because I think then you can really appreciate putting in independent active rear suspension now has made a big difference to this car in the drivability, but couldn't go on a track. But I did go into a limp mode, no engine warnings, but had no boost when we were driving it hard on public roads, very safely. And once it cooled down, it was working fine again, which was a bit surprising for me.
I think that's a special feature they do for you when they hand it
Yeah. They're putting that safety because this could be trouble. To wrap up, fantastic package. Price seems to be a concern when you start looking at what else you can buy, but do people who love Mustangs really care? Because one thing you have here, which you don't have with the 3 Series, is serious street cred from a look and styling perspective. So maybe it's not as good from a driving point of view.
Yeah, I mean, in the price bracket, if you're looking at like the German stuff, you're not going to get a top-of-the-range German car for this price, but you'll get a nicely spec German car. But when I was 7 years old, I didn't have a nicely spec German car on my wall. I had a Mustang on my wall.
Exactly.
And now there's a chance to own one.
You've got a Mustang tattoo?
No, not yet.
Not yet. It might happen. Guys, thanks for your thoughts. Exciting car. Can't wait to see more of them on the road because they are real head turners. But they still work. Definitely. I think that's key for Ford. We know that they're aggressively marketing their products at the moment. Well, whatever your thoughts on the Ford Mustang, it is sure to find many proud owners here in South Africa. Speaking of cars that sell